Hello, patrons and others. We interrupt my pizza from Three Bums in Houghton um, to bring you the Latin Vulgate of Genesis 1:5. That means it's Friday. And so, appellavitque lucem diem. By the way, lucem would be the ancient Latin pronunciation. Some of you may know that medieval Latin, Church Latin, would go lucem, but there is no ch sound in ancient Latin. Lucem diem et tenebras noctem, factumque est vespere et mane dies unis. V's are pronounced as W's in ancient Latin, appellavitque. Okay, I don't need my final slide. I've already pronounced it. Here's the translation. And, did you see the and? Two ands here. This is the freestanding and, et, not as in French, a, but this means and you put it in front. And he called, appellavit, the light day, and the darknesses or the shadows he called night. Mark Jolicoeur asked me why I kept translating this as shadows. And it probably means darkness. I should look it up. But I also know it means shadows because there's a chapter in Wheelock. One moment, please. Okay, well, there was a wild ride. Okay, so long tangent here. Sorry. Wheelock, Robert, I believe. Yes, Frederick Wheelock. Man, I'm having a hard time today. But I'm not going to start over. So Frederick Wheelock is the classic college Latin text. I did some Latin in high school, and then by God's grace, found myself several years later, almost 10 years later, is that right? Well, long time later, studying Latin at the University of Kentucky. And I had not done any Latin since high school. And so this is like 7 years later. So I taught myself Wheelock and jumped right in. Anyway, tenebra does primarily mean darkness. So hats off to Mark. It can mean shadow. Somewhere I have mixed a memory. It happens. Somewhere I've translated something where tenebra meant shadow. But I was confusing it with a reading in Wheelock. It's in chapter 5 of Wheelock about the Battle of Thermopylae. And let me just translate the Latin. I love this. Our army is great, Persicus said, and because of the number of our arrows, you will not see the sky. Then the Lacedaemonian, that is the Spartan. Then the Spartan responded, in shadow, therefore, we will fight. The shadow of the arrows. And Leonidas, the king of the Lacedaemonians, the king of the Spartans, exclaimed, fight with courage, with animus, Spartans. Today, with the shadows, perhaps we will dine. In other words, we're going to be in the shadows of their arrows, and we're going to fight with courage, animus, which also means with the spirits. There's double entendres all over this passage. We're going to fight with spirit, and we're going to fight with the dead spirits in the shadow of the arrows, and perhaps tonight we will eat with the shadows in the underworld. It's a passage from Cicero in the Tusculan Disputations. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a tangent, and I apologize, but maybe you liked it. Okay, so let's translate this puppy. I already did, didn't I? And he called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And it was made in the evening and in the morning, day one. These are very interesting here, vespere and mane, because they're both ablative. Now, ablative is normally a case for like in or a preposition or something like that, or from. Uh, so it was done at night and it was done in the day, day one. So it's not like it was in Greek and in Hebrew, where it was morning and it was evening and it was morning. It's more like it, and it was at night and in the morning, day one. Or as, here is my interlinear here, and called light day, and darkness, or shadows, it does mean shadows, and darkness night, and was made in the evening, at evening and at morning, day one. Now, maybe I should add a slide on cases real quick. One moment, please. Okay, so Latin cases. So like Greek, Latin has these cases in which it basically, these are endings that are changed at the end of the word. So like amicus would be one friend. A friend came by, I would say amicus came by. If friends came by, I would say amici came by. And so singular, plural. And you have a different ending. English does this too, right? Book, books, put an S at the end. But Greek and Latin have much more. So the genitive case means you put the word of in front of it. So amici, and I know it's the same, that's frustrating. This, in a different context, it would be of a friend, or amicorum. Oh, I left out a C. Amicorum would be of friends. There we go, much better, amicorum. Then there's the dative, the indirect object. I gave the book amico, to a friend, or I gave it to friends, amicis. Then I see a friend, where it's the direct object. I see amicum, I see a friend, or I see friends, I see amigos. And of course, you know the similarity to Spanish, right? Amigo, amigos, because Spanish is descended from Latin. These are the same as in Greek. Latin also has an ablative case, which Greek has in its history, but it hasn't made it to the New Testament. Or to much of, it didn't even make it to Homer, so never mind. But anyway, amico would be buy a friend, not as in here's some money, I'm buying a friend, but as in it was done by a friend or by friends. Again, there's some similarities, some repetitions. I won't go into it. If you stick with this Septuagint or the Vulgate long enough, you'll learn some stuff. I also put in here the principal parts of a Latin verb. So there are four principal parts. So you'll notice that the word appello is here, which means to call, appellate court. But anyway, I'm sure it's related. But so the first principal part is the present stem. You also build the future and the imperfect on it by, it's actually similar to Spanish in some respects. Like the imperfect in Spanish adds a ba. In some cases, you add a ba to make it I was calling, appellabam. Anyway, not important. But that's the present stem. And then the second is the infinitive, appellare, to call. And you'll notice, you Spanish and French friends, that if you drop the E, you're getting into French and Spanish territory with the different conjugations. And yes, you do tell the conjugation in Latin as well by the connecting vowel. This is the perfect. I called, and there should be a long I, but you don't care. And then appellatum is the perfect passive participle, having been called. And as we've seen, if you put the word est, let me go back the other way. If you put the word est onto it, then the fourth principal part becomes was made, or would be was called. You don't have to know it. We're here for a while. I'm going to at least do the Hebrew, I think, through Genesis 3, and then I'll probably flip somewhere else for a while. Okay, I actually was thinking of doing a treatise of Philo. I don't know that there are many people interested in that, but I am translating Philo's Who is the Heir of All Things from Greek into English. Okay, so now for the parsing. So we've now seen that appellawit is perfect. It is perfect active indicative, third singular from appello, and the wi tells you that it's perfect active. Lucem is accusative feminine singular, just like noctem is accusative feminine singular. Diem is also accusative masculine singular. I think day is masculine. Day is weird. It may be feminine. One moment, please. It's masculine. Why do I doubt myself? Anyway, then factumque est, again, this is a perfect passive participle, but when you put it with est, it becomes perfect passive indicative. It's a compound. Third singular from facio. Both of these are ablative, as I said, even though they don't look like the chart I had. There are different, what are called declensions. Different declensions do their ablative in a different way. These are third declension, I believe, and they use an E for their ablative. Well, I've talked this one to death. Appellawitque lucem diem. I'm sorry. Appellawitque lucem diem et tenebras noctem. Factumque est vespere et mane dies unus. Okay, this has been the Vulgate of Genesis 1:5.